Hello, hello. Good evening, everyone. Good to see you. We got a big debate coming up. And, I, for one, as somebody who has anchored a few of these things myself, a couple Republican presidential debates, I would like to see some really good questions being asked. I'm not sure if it's going to happen, but I can tell you there are some things that need to be discussed. For example, when it comes to Joe Biden, you know, I want to know just exactly what he's planning in terms of our Supreme Court. What do you what do you think? Don't we need to know that? Don't we need to know if he's intending to pack the courts? In fact, if you look, just the other day he was out there talking to a reporter in Wisconsin, and the reporter asked him, "Do you intend to pack the courts?" And Joe Biden said, "I'm not going to answer that question." He actually said, "I'm not going to answer that question," as if we don't deserve an answer to that question. He somehow thought it was a diversion. I'm sorry, that's not a diversion right now. You've got Senator Ed Markey out there in Massachusetts saying that he wants to pack the courts. You've got Alexandria Ocasio Cortez possibly looking at impeachment of the president again. Like they really want to go through that one again, as well as Nancy Pelosi saying that on the Sunday shows that she's looking to do that thing again, possibly. George Stephanopoulos asked her about it and she didn't discount it. Listen, we deserve to know the answer. Does Joe Biden intend to pack the courts? And I'd pound him on that one and I'd keep going back and I'd ask and ask and ask again until the American public gets an answer. The other thing that I would like to see the anchor on Sunday ask, and I'm not sure if it's going to come up, but it needs to. What the heck was Joe Biden's son doing working for a Ukrainian energy company when he knew nothing about energy? And he was making all this money by sitting on the board of this energy company when his father was trying to influence Ukrainian policy. I mean, that's messed up, right? Let's just call it what it is. There was a Senate report out today, a GOP led committee looking into it. What we learned, that the Obama administration knew all about it and they knew that it was a conflict of interest and they didn't do squat, nada, zilch, right? So I would want to promise, and let's see if they can pin him down on this one. I think America deserves a promise that if Joe Biden were president, his son is not going to be sitting on the boards of any companies that are going to be so especially vulnerable and influenced by the US government. In other words, you've got to keep church and state separate, if you would. Good to see you all tonight. Good to have you here. Hello to Cleveland, Ohio. Good to see you, Ernest. Jim, welcome. Eric, good to have you here as well. Johnny, good to have you. I mean, do you guys think we're going to hear these questions being asked? Because I think we deserve the answers to them. And it's not just Joe Biden. I mean, I would go to Donald Trump and I would say, President Trump, what are you going to do about our national debt? In all seriousness, I mean, now we've got COVID-19 and they're handing out money like it's candy, and you've got, $600 checks from the federal government, and now they want to do more. We'll see whether or not they get that one through because Nancy Pelosi is being quite resistant. But in other words, there is a desire, right, to hand out a lot of money. And so I would ask the president, what's the plan for getting out of this mess? Right? Because we have debt and deficit levels that frankly are not sustainable. And we've got the Fed out there printing money as well. So how are you going to help us grow our way? And I think that's the intention here. We've got to somehow grow our way out of this mess. So the anchor, Chris Wallace, needs to ask Donald Trump exactly what his plan is for getting us out of this massive debt load, right, that we have, how he gets the economy back in action. And by the way, how the heck Joe Biden's going to get the economy back in action when he's planning a socialist style government? I mean, I'm sorry, you can't just go out there and say, I'm going to take, and I'm going to tax you all to death. And then I'm going to redistribute that wealth and somehow we're all going to live happily ever after. I mean, that's not how it works. Good to have all of you guys here. Eric, yes, hopefully the Anti-Coal Intel Pro Show. Good to have you guys back. Jim, welcome. Latinos for Trump. Diorias Medina says in 2020, it's amazing when you see exactly how powerful this president has been in the Latino community, to the point where I would not be surprised if it is Latinos that really deliver Florida for him. You look at the numbers and you consider where Hillary Clinton was at this time around, right? And she was way ahead with Latinos in Florida. So what happened? Why does Joe Biden have such a Latino problem? I think I know the answer. I think it's that Latinos have been misjudged by the Democratic Party. The Democrats assume they can put everybody in some nice little category, right? But there's something else going on. And I wrote about this actually today. There's something else going on. And that's that Americans doesn't matter if you're Latino, if you're Irish American, if you're Asian, if you're whatever you are, right? You want a chance at a better future. You want economic opportunity. And that's the underlying theme that happens amongst all of us. We all want our shot at the American dream. And so, Latinos, especially in Florida, they have seen prosperity under this administration and they know what socialism is like, right? They know what Cuba's like, they know what Venezuela's like, they know what Mexico's now like, they know how bad those economies are, how dangerous those places are, and so they're like, no, I don't want that here. And you know what, who can blame them? And so I think that's what's going on, and as such you might see Latinos deliver Trump there in Florida. Good to have you all here. Bill, welcome. Bob, welcome. It is really good to see you all. Voice Boot Camp, listening from Canada. Excellent having you here from Canada. Good to see you there in Hong Kong. Love having everybody from an international perspective here on the show because there's a lot of international things that are going on that are so important right now. But I'm looking ahead to this debate. And, I anchored two debates. I was actually part of the very first in U.S. history all women team to anchor a debate when I anchored the presidential Republican primary debate there with one of my colleagues, another female anchor over at Fox. And so, I have some perspective on this, and I know how important these questions are, and I know that. I'm sure Chris Wallace right now is writing them all down, and he's racing to make sure he can get everything in there. It's hard, right? You only have so much time, and it's very controlled, and that they're going to have a certain amount of time for each question and answer. But, there's some things that need to be discussed. And top of my list right now is the Supreme Court, because you've got consistently now so many Democrats coming out and saying, well, we can just pack the courts. They're threatening this. And this is a really serious threat. This would undermine our entire system, right? It undermines our separation of powers, which is so vital to us as Americans. It is who we are here in the United States. This separation of powers is the beauty of our government. And yeah, I look at our government today and I think increasingly we're feeling more and more like a banana republic. You saw Eric Trump. Now they're going after him. Eric Trump, they're the attorney general in New York, wants him to answer a whole series of questions. It's almost like a tit for tat, right? You see the Senate come out with their report showing that the Obama administration knew about the conflicts of interest between Hunter Biden and his dad, Joe Biden, when Joe Biden was vice president. And what do? They come out now saying, well, we want to answer, Eric Trump to answer all these questions for us. So that feels very banana republic like to me. But my concern, once again, is going back to these courts. If they are successful in something like this, now, by the way, the only way they're going to be successful, and this is why it's so important that, if you have sort of a conservative view, right, of our Constitution, and you believe in sort of truth when it comes to our Constitution, it's so important to go out and vote, because if they were to keep the House, if they were to take the Senate, if they were to get the Oval Office, then, there's no telling what's actually going to happen. And they are threatening to pack the courts. Before you know it, I mean, we'd be looking at a Supreme Court the size of the House of Representatives. I mean, so what good would that do us, right? The court is supposed to be deliberate. It's supposed to be slow. It's supposed to be small, 9 people. FDR tried this back in 1936. His own party said, you know what? No, not happening, because this would be so detrimental to us. American critique, let freedom ring. Indeed, let freedom ring. Right? I mean, it's so great to see so many patriots out here tonight. It's so great to see so many people really fighting for freedom, because that's what's on the line in this environment with cancel culture. And by the way, I really do, all your support. And I appreciate you all being here on YouTube, following me on Twitter, going to trishintel.com. That is the name of my brand new podcast. It's out every single day. I write as well for American Consequences. You can always check that out at americanconsequences.com. But I encourage you to go to these platforms so you and me, we can talk directly without all that outside noise and all that institutional garbage, frankly, trying to manipulate the message, because this is a message that can't be manipulated. And you know what? I am someone who definitely cannot be manipulated. So I like having this opportunity to talk to all of you direct. Cider 916, thank you. God bless you as well. Francisco, freedom is at stake for the next years, Francisco writes. Government doesn't like the power that came from social media. Isn't that the truth? I mean, social media is pretty powerful, right? It's powerful when I can go direct to you like this, or I can go direct to you on Facebook or on Twitter or Parler. I'm on all of these platforms, and importantly, my own platform, TrishIntel.com, where I'm writing every day and you can see my opinions. You can see what I'm following. You can also subscribe there to my emails, all free, and you can hear from me directly every day. You can also correspond directly with me right there every single day. But my message, anyway, tonight is that we need to make sure that these candidates are held accountable up on that stage. And that means that these anchors are effectively our voices, our conduits. So we need to make sure that they are asking the right things. And I know what I'd be asking. I'd be pushing very hard. I want to know whether Joe Biden intends to pack the courts. I want to know whether Joe Biden would have his son continue to sit on some of these boards. I want to know what Donald Trump is going to do to make sure that we are not leaving future generations with a giant mess, all kinds of debt, right? These are fair questions to be asking and they need to be answered. Don't let them wiggle out. All right. They always try and wiggle out these politicians. It's like they have this answer, right? That's just programmed. And they just keep going back to the answer. You know, one of the beauties, shall we say, about Donald Trump, I'll give him this for credit. He answers the question. That's part of his problem. He actually tells you the truth and he answers the darn question. I find it extremely refreshing and I love it. And, that's in part how come he makes so much news because everybody's saying, I can't believe he said that. Well, he just answered the question. He told you what he was thinking. The problem is in politics, nobody actually tells you what they're thinking. There's, all these facades up, and they're always trying to game it out and think, well, what would the constituents say? What does the focus group say? And Donald Trump's like, I don't care what the focus group says. Here's what I think. And boom, out it comes. And you know what? That is refreshing and that's important. And I think when it comes to leadership, we need more of that, right? I don't like the idea of Susan Collins and Lisa Murkowski getting all nervous about putting in a new judge on the Supreme Court. They're nervous because they're worried about what their constituents are going to say. And I'm sorry, but you know what? Your constituents elected you, which means your constituents trust you. So you got to trust yourself and you got to move forward and you got to be a leader, especially at a time like now. So good to see you, Russell. Democrats cannot thwart the plans of God. No weapon that's formed will prosper. Patriots pray for Trump and his family daily. Patriots do indeed. He's up against a lot right now. His family is up against a lot. I think about it like, who wants it, right? I mean, who wants to deal with that and all the baggage that comes with it? I feel for his wife. I feel for his kids. His daughter certainly has tried to be active and instrumental in positive ways, as has her husband. But it's challenging when that's the reality. You're telling me to fix my volume settings, huh, guys? That's interesting to know. Maybe I just need to get a little bit closer to the camera. We're working on some of the technology. Pat, great to hear you too. You guys can't hear the audio. You know what? I'm going to go back and take a look at that. Um, and we're going to see if we can fix that. And I'm going to come back with you shortly. Anyway, continue following me here on YouTube. Follow me on Facebook. Follow me on TrishIntel.com. And I will see you soon. Thanks so much, guys.